2022, Chile and Portugal pulled off unreal heroics to qualify for the Rugby World Cup for the first and second time in their histories, respectively. Absolutely amazing. Italy achieved their first win over Wales in Wales ever, and their first Six Nations victory in 7 whole years. Incredible. And Kingsley Jones got sacked by Canada. Oh wait, no he did. No he didn't, apparently. Even after they bombed out qualifying for the first time ever and got battered by Spain by 50 points. Fair enough, fine. I guess this one will have to be Gary Gold, who got sacked by the USA, or Glenn Moore, who got sacked by the Black Ferns, or any of the other 8,000 coaches, because in between the 8,000 coaches being fired by 8,000 nations, this was, believe it or not, a year in which some rugby was played by some people, and seemingly by all of them badly enough to fire their coach. And to celebrate the best of that rugby, it's time for this, for the Squid Rugby Team of the Year 2022. And as we move into the final 3 positions in this team, it's the most competitive of them all. It's always the one with the longest alternate contenders list. It's time for the best back row of 2022. About every 4th game, Sia Kolisi becomes unplayable. Never below a 7 or 8 out of 10. Ever since his aura grew post-World Cup, the Springbok captain has developed a tier of gears that very few players ever reach. Richie McCaw had it, Sam Warburton had it, Michael Hooper has it, Kazuki Himeno has it too. And for the last 15 years of Test Rugby, that might be it. The ability for a back rower to own a game so completely, so entirely, that they're worth at least 90% of their opposition's points back on their own, to work so hard, so comprehensively in every facet of the game, all conducted with a confidence and air of invincibility that is unbeatable and unbreakable, and so inspiring to the team around them. Sia Kolisi has been world-class for about 5 years now, but I don't think he's ever been as good as he was this year. It often flew under the radar, but 2022 Sia was not on form. He was not high on confidence or driven by a World Cup of purpose. He was simply better. He was better than every single opponent he came up against this year, better than any performance an opposite number could ever put in against him. And in about every 4th game, he jumped from an 8 out of 10 to a 26. That's how good Sia Kolisi has become this year. So good maths looks at him and goes, yeah, right, we'll let you have 80,000 percentage points to rate your performance accurately because you need it. Sia Kolisi has become ridiculously, stupidly good, as good as a rugby player can pretty much get. So good that we're now taking him for granted. And he's timed this second almighty rise just in time to try and defend his title as not just one of the world's greatest rugby players, but the world's greatest captain in 2023. The Netherlands doesn't perhaps have the broadest rugby history. Despite being first played there in 1879, for the last 100 years, Dutch rugby has only really had Tim Visser to show for it in mainstream Tier 1 circles. However, 2022 showed sparks of growth like rarely before. A solid performance against Romania, scores against Georgia and Italy A, and then they really pushed Canada in what would have been arguably the biggest win in their history. And so what better way could there possibly be to bring down the curtain on an incredibly promising year for rugby in the Netherlands than to see one of their own descendants, an expat in Ireland, officially named as the official World Player of the Year. What more perfect tribute for Netherlands rugby could there be? Except that didn't happen because Josh van der Vliet was born in Johannesburg. But boy, was this the year that JVDF kicked the word project firmly out the phrase, Josh van der Vliet is a project player, because man is he now complete. Long gone are the days of him having to work on his ball carrying. Van der Vliet is just an all-round menace. That ball carrying is outstanding. He is one of the best ball carriers in the world. His is a rare combination in a modern flanker, the physicality with genuine link play and anticipation. He reads the game so well. All of this matched with his unbelievable efforts off the ball. A massive breakdown threat who's always been there for, he's always loved a lovely jackal. He's always been very good at that. But he's got better and better at slowing the opposition ball down as well too. And that's been a big part of how good Ireland's defence has been this year. And his tackling is a thing of proper wonder. Getting through more work than a windmill in West Wales. Stopping players still like they're wearing wooden shoes. Maybe too much talk goes on Josh van der Vliet's surname, but going off his play in 2022, a tulip by any other name would smell as sweet. 2022 divided by 8 is 252.75, and that's legitimately how many genuine and exceptional contenders for the 8 shirt there were over the last year. the international game littered with world-class performances by players locking out the scrum. And yet, while so many bled sweat and sweated blood for their nations, nobody made it look quite as effortless as France and La Rochelle's Gregory Alldritt. The ultimate modern number 8. No area of Alldritt's game is weaker than the last. Every aspect of what he brings the biggest strength to his bow. An exceptional ball carrier whose pace contributes as much, if not more, than his power, and whilst his wonderful handling and ability to offload is huge in allowing France to create the kind of continuity that kept their attack flowing through the unbeaten year in 2022, the true secret weapon to his game is this. Gregory Alldritt may be the best at ball presentation in the 200-year history of Billy Ware basketball. At the very least, I've never seen somebody better. Alldritt presents the ball back so cleanly, it's nearly an offload in how smoothly it enters the nine's hands, sometimes even negating the need for a clear out at all and keeping France's pace up so high. However, his ability to slow that lightning quick ball for others is another standout attribute. His breakdown work a real weapon for both of his teams in 2022, but especially huge for La Rochelle, as he proved talismanic in the tussle towards glory. A key player in every knockout game, guiding them towards the Champions Cup, the biggest prize in European rugby. It's by the absolute tightest margin, but Alldritt's a flawless 8, a player who is almost unstoppable and a standout for two teams who had arguably the best years in their history, the first time France have ever gone unbeaten in a full calendar year, and the biggest club rugby trophy coming home to Alldritt's tiny Port Town home. All done in Gregory's typical casual yet impassioned style, not realising the impact he's just had until after the full-time whistle goes. Right, let's start on those other number 8s. It's impossible to come up with good reasoning why the shirt didn't go to Canada captain Sophie de Goody. She's just absolutely unbelievable. Imagine Sergio Parisse without the ego, and you're kind of halfway there. You're halfway to describing how good she is. Pound for pound amongst the best rugby players on the planet, and in unbeatable career best form this year. Her breakdown work and her carrying as good as her goal kicking. Honestly, she's a ridiculous talent. Talupi Faletau was the only male Welsh player to come within a million miles of this team, but my god, he would not have looked out of place in it. Just a flawless rugby player, and anyone who doesn't rate him is actually a stupid person. Ardy Surveyor was at its bombastic best this year. Powerful, dynamic, still getting away with the utterly stupid dummy that I hate, still doing it, still working. God damn you, Ardy. Aseza Hele was possibly the player of the pool stage at the World Cup. Power and dynamism that brought South African side to life. And Rob Valetini. Man, oh man, is he good. A guy who has improved so much every year of his career, and 2022 was a season where he reached terrifyingly terrific. If he continues this uphill trajectory, he could well be wearing the 8 shirt in 2023. I honestly kind of expect it at this point. Phenomenal player who's just getting better and better and better, and was arguably the Wallabies' best player outside of Len Ikitau this year. Roman Menege was brilliant for France, really stepping up whenever a team needed her. And Kazuki Ameno, my boy, remains world class, untouchably world class. Two other names were in real contention on the flanks, really easily could have made this team. For me, most of the year, it was unimaginable to see this team without England and Saracens' Marley Packer, utterly dominant at all levels in all matches, a 9 out of 10 game every single week. She was the form player in the world, men or women, male, female, cat, dog, whatever. And then Canada not only targeted her, nullified her and exposed her weaknesses, but showed the Black Ferns how to do it the same way in the final. The two most crucial games arguably she'll ever play, the only two games that weren't victims of her devastating burst of form that we saw throughout the rest of the year, really counting against her. Michele Lamaro, meanwhile, almost retained a place in this team as some tireless, extraordinary form for Italy, the captain becoming one that truly rare breed of superhuman leaders that may challenge for a spot in the very exclusive Kolisi club in the years to come. Elsewhere, right, okay, buckle in, there's quite a few of them. Becca Gorgadze was an enormous part of Georgia's biggest ever year, a crucial weapon in both of their massive wins on both sides of the ball. Manuel Ardeo had a real breakthrough year for Uruguay, arguably their best player over 2022. Peter Omani played some outstanding rugby for Ireland and gave us some even better bastardry. Caelan Doris excelled. Elisa Butchers was world class in the Six Nations, such a huge defining factor in Wales' rise to the best finishing years, only to then be ruled out of the World Cup early on and matched in it by my new personal hero, Alex Callender. Callender made more tackles than any other player in the World Cup, despite having half the starts of some of her rivals, and delivered all of it with a side course of outstanding shithousery. She's brilliant. Fellow Alex Matthews excelled for England, absolutely outstanding all year long, while Sarah Hunter played her best rugby in years at the World Cup. Jasper Wiese was a real force for the Box and Leicester. Sarah Haruni, brilliant for the Black Ferns. Karen Paquin rolled back the years to play some extraordinary rugby for Canada. Cameron Wokey was brilliant, but also most mostly in the second row, so I probably should have mentioned him yesterday, but I kind of got torn on where because he plays one position for the club and one for the... It's all... Cameron Woki's brilliant. He's really good. He's very much in contention for the team. Just mentally put him in both lists, please. Jamie Ritchie really stepped up for Scotland, becoming a great captain as well, just as female counterpart Rachel Malcolm was for the women. Excellent. Theo McFarlane is such a bullshit cheat code for Saracens and Samoa. Giada Franco was a huge part of Italy's amazing year. Just tireless. Utterly tireless. Emily Chancellor was superb for Australia all World Cup and all year long. Martin Segren led Chile brilliantly. Jack Morgan had a real breakthrough year for Wales. Tom Curry is still playing rugby and he's good. And the men and women's games each saw one truly extraordinary breakthrough flanker this year. Juan Martin Gonzalez of Argentina was next level, exploding from nowhere to take the Rugby Championship by storm, singly scoring in Argentina's every game. He's absolutely brilliant, just an all-action, all-court game flanker. And Sadia Kabea had the most unbelievable, extraordinary first year in Test rugby I think anyone's ever had, possibly. 6 months on from her first cap, she'd been named Player of the Match in a World Cup match, played in the final, excelled in the semi, and broken the world record for the most tackles by an individual player in a women's rugby international ever. Sadia Kabea is probably the most exciting rugby talent England has produced since Mario Itoje. I understand how big a statement that is, and has a ceiling that is in the stratosphere. Seriously, there's a contention that she could be one of the greatest players of all time if she lives up to that. Not to put too much pressure on her, but I'm so excited to see what she can become in the next year that's to come, and a few more beyond that. And that brings down the curtain on the Team of the Year for another year. Thank you very much for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you in particular to anyone Irish who has continued to hate watch this, just to comment. That means a lot. And thank you, actually, there was a load of people that left some really lovely stuff on Twitter and the like, really supportive of the team in the last few days. It's really meant a lot. It's really been really lovely. Thank you to everyone that said supportive things over this team over these last few days. It's been a weird, intense period doing the Team of the Year and the Moments of the Year. It's taken a lot of my time, hence not being able to get to things like that South Africa-England game. I know a lot of people keep asking about that. I figured I could only cover one game that weekend, so I could get these two kind of sets of things done, just from a pure time perspective. And I chose the Australia-Wales game because it was the more entertaining game. I'm sorry, it seems like I made the wrong choice there, but there we go. In the meantime, there's the new series of the podcast on 2007 World Cup, and there'll be a bunch more stuff. I will be back in a few weeks' time with a couple of videos coming up very soon, including a dissection, a post-mortem on Wayne Pivac's Wales. I'll be back very soon with more rugby.
Josh van der Fleer, you are the Bank of Ireland man of the match. How does it feel to win a test match like that?
Great.